Okay, so parameter 64 tool change height offset. Can be a bit of a fiddly one to do, but it's not too complicated. But there's a couple of things that I prefer to do in advance that massively helps out when you're doing this. Now, when you go and follow the procedure from Haas, it will tell you the first thing, obviously, ideally you want to make sure you get no tools in there, no tool in the spindle. Now, your offset will be whatever it is, and you might have to be doing this parameter change for a specific reason. You might have changed had a ball screw done, a motor, you might have done something with a carousel like I have. So what was happening when I tool changed is these dogs were crashing into the keyway on the back there, so the tool change offset was too low. So what they tell you to do is to do a tool change, and as the door opens, but before this comes in, hit the e-stop. Now, I don't know how quick you are, or whether it's better on newer machines, but that door only fully opens as it comes right here. And what will happen is, the actual spindle nose will be in the way of you putting a tool in there manually, which makes it very difficult. So one thing I'll always do is, first off, you want to go into setting 7 and turn your parameter lock, sorry about the reflection, parameter lock to off. Then you'll go into your parameters. Parameter 64 is your tool change offset. Now, I've just done this, so I know what my offset should be. 5.9, so basically, what am I at? Sorry, 598393. Now, if that was incorrect, let's say that was incorrect and it wasn't quite right, and I'm going to be resetting it. What I'll do to make sure when I do this first tool change to put my tool in manually, to make sure this is well out of the way, I will divide that number, whatever it is, by 4. So let's say we're on 60, 600,000. If we halved it 300, and we done it to a quarter again, we'd be 150,000. So if I push the e-stop in and I put 150000 and I change that, there you go, I put 150,000 in there, release the e-stop, 0 return Z, and then single axis. That takes it to your maximum. It's not your home position, but it's like the maximum. Now, we've put a new parameter 64 in. You do, make sure you're on 5% rapids. So 5% rapids, and then you do 0 return Z G28 home. And when you do that, it's going to bring it to its tool change height. But obviously, we've divided that by 4. So rather than being down here, we're going to stay up here somewhere. So if I now go G28 home, 5% rapid, Z only. See, I'm now well up out of the way. Now what that allows you to do, now let's pretend we start following this. First thing you want to do is you want to get a tool in here to measure what height the tool is at. So you want to do a forward tool change, and then they tell you to hit e-stop before the door, or when the door's fully open, before you get under the spindle. And if the spindle's down here, it's very difficult to get it right and stop it in time and have the room to manually put a tool in. So what I do, by dividing that height by 4, it keeps the spindle up out the way. So let's now go tool forward. Okay, now all I've done is push the feed hold, but you can push e-stop, like they say. Because obviously if you hit the e-stop, I'll do e-stop. Let's do e-stop. So emergency off, nothing's going to happen. Now you can manually take your tool. You've got a bit of clearance there, and I can jam it in. We are now in the holder, everything's secure, and what we'll do is we'll bring this under here, and I've moved this since, but let's say for example we're at 0. Yeah, so we've got 0. And then you can jog the table, or for me personally, I'm just sliding it out of the way. So this is 0.01mm indicator. And then once I've got this measurement, you manually want to take that out the way again, and then you can release your emergency stop, clear the alarm, but now you need to do a tool change or restore. Is there a tool in the spindle? No, there's not, so it will move back. Is the pocket empty? Yes, tool change complete. Okay, so we've now done that. So the next thing to do is to take your same tool and put that into the spindle. And then we want G28Z0, which is where we're at. So that's where it thinks we are tool changing from. And now what we need to do, obviously this is an extreme example, but we now want to jog the spindle down. I'm trying to do this with one hand. We'll jog it down until we're back to 0. There we go. So that is the correct tool change height now. Now obviously my differences are extreme because I moved my spindle head well up out the way first. You could have put it back to what it was, so it's a bit closer to start with, but it doesn't matter. So in the Z on the machine, in the position page on the machine, I've got minus 82.182. Now this is where it comes down to the having to divide by an inch, because all the instructions assume you're in inch dimensioning. So if you go back into parameter, 33 is your ratio for your Z, steps per unit. Your X, Y and your Z are all going to be the same normally. So we've got 138,718. So you'll times that by 138,718. Now remember it's a minus. Let's go get our calculator. I'd normally use my phone, but I'm on it. And to be fair, I could have used the one on the screen like it says, but never mind. So I am minus 82.182. And then what we want to do is times that 138,718. So that equals 11,400,122. 11,400,122. 11,400,122, and that's in the minus. Okay, now if you was to do that number, it's going to be wrong because that's not been divided by 25.4, and randomly enough everything to do with your parameters refers to it in inches, whereas if you're in the UK and some other places, depending on where you are based, you're working it all out in millimeters. So if you then divide by 25.4, that's what you're going to get. 448,823. I'm not worried about after the decimal place. Okay, so we've got 448,823. Now if the number is positive that you get here, then you subtract it from 64. If it's positive, I'd subtract it from that. If the number is negative, then you add it to that. So what we want to do is 150, sorry, not that you need to see the calculator, but you can't see it, 150,000, and then I want to add 448,823, and that equals 598823. So if we put in there 598823, press enter. So we've now changed it, release the e-stop, clear the alarm. Then what you need to do is you need to move the spindle back to the very top. So 0 return, Z, 0 single axis. That moves it well up out the way. And now when we do our G28 home, which is going to bring us to our tool change position, the indicator should go back to 0 because we haven't touched that. So now I'm going to put it 5% rapids, 0 return, Z, G28 home. And we should go back to 0 if we've done it correctly. There you go, absolutely bang on. So that is how you do your parameter 64 tool change offset. I just wanted to show you about the dividing by 25.4 because the first time I done this, I was banging my head against a brick wall. I was trying to do it myself. I was following it by the instructions that you can find online. But if you're in millimeters, you've got to divide it by 25.4. Now you could even do that at the start. So at your machine position on your Z, you could divide that by 25.4 straight off the cuff. I personally, I don't know why, no preference, I do it at the end. But you need to divide by 25.4, otherwise you're going to get crazy figures and the head's going to try and come all the way down here, or it's going to go up and it's going to say Z over travel if it goes too high, or it's going to crash into the table and through your indicator setup if it goes too low. So that is just a quick video to show you parameter 64, tool change offset, and also bear in mind that this applies to the same when you're doing the grid offsets. Exactly the same thing. On grid offsets, you have to take your distance to go, and then you subtract, and then you times that by the steps ratio, steps per rev, or whatever it is. And it's the same thing. If you're in millimeters, when you get your result, you need to divide it by 25.4 for your grid offset, or you need to divide your first initial distance to go by 25.4. Whichever way you do it, you have to change it unless you're running your machine in inch mode, in which case you can follow the instructions by the book. But I do think even if you are running in inch and you disregard that, doing that little safety lift of changing your tool change offset so that you're way up here when you need to put your tool in the carousel manually, having it up here safely out of the way, you avoid risk of crashing it into the tool changer, especially if the machine's already in that state when you come to it. Keeps it out of the way, gives you plenty of room to allow you to put the tool in manually, and I just prefer that, and it works much better for me. So short video, hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll bring you back for more videos when I'm carrying on doing more stuff with this. So cheers for watching, see you again soon.